Nog the Islander, you think, is in a one-sided relationship.
Fuck it up. Scott, from everything he's been saying and how he's acting, does like how your situation is.
Again, we're not charging this.
I'm really conflicted as to why we needed to have the US candidates come across to, Love Island UK. It doesn't make any sense. And the people that they brought, nothing stood out. Zach didn't stand out as a bombshell. So the idea that he's being brought doesn't make sense unless someone wants Millie to win. And so they've curated men that they think Millie will like one of them. That's the only reason why they would be there. And then after episodes and episodes of not seeing Scott and Leanne's connection, suddenly they're being brought to the forefront as the troublesome couple. I don't get it. Someone is trying to put a rift between them, and I hope the fans do not buy into it, because as much as everyone is trying to sort of create problems when it comes to Scott and Leanne, it's not that deep. It really is not that deep. I feel like, Shay kissing Scott to say it's one-sided was because the fallout from people telling Leanne that Scott had said this behind her back didn't work. So they decided to go after Scott to see if he will bite. And I hope he doesn't bite. And I hope the fans as well don't bite, because at the end of the day, these people are set in a couple. They are not what the show was expecting to be the winners, but I hope we continue to champion them because they deserve a win. Oh my God, I'll get off my soapbox. Anyway, hey there, thanks for stopping by, to girl Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island All Stars Season 3, Episode 14. So obviously Maya Jama has announced who's been dumped. The boys are shocked that Shaq is going home. I think Jess, nobody was really shocked because Jess wasn't giving anything. She wasn't giving entertainment or any storyline. So the idea that she's dumped, I don't think stood out to anyone. I didn't understand why Sammy was crying. I didn't realize that, she brought out, Jess was that close a friend to her. For Helena to say to Shaq to be continued. Oh my God, please, 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 take several seats. I love what she said about him, that he brought out her soft girl era. I think she was able to be comfortable in her own skin and realize that she doesn't need to perform for a guy to like her, and she can just be who she is. And if the guy likes her, he likes her. If he doesn't, he doesn't, and it's okay. So Maya then sat down with Shaq and Jess said, I was myself. Because she even told this to the girls, that this time, yes, I'm going out as the second person to be dumped, but I was myself. I didn't find a connection, but at least I was myself. And so I can stand on that. And it's like, Jess, even in your season where you won, you didn't find a connection. Sammy stayed with you because he knew that was how he was going to win. He always told everyone with ears to hear that you were not a great connection for him. You liked him, but he didn't like you as much. Jess was asked, did you think you broke up with Tommy too early, or do you think it was the right time? And she said she was hoping to meet her person. I think Jess didn't want the backlash that the girl in the previous season got for breaking up with Tommy once he had caught feelings, and this is why she decided to break things off with him. She was expecting production, I think, to bring her somebody, but sadly she's not the golden girl in the season, so they had to dump her. She was asked about Whitney. She said, Whitney is my sister, and that's where I'm going to leave it. And it's like, no, she's not your sister. You use her. She's a convenient sister, in the sense that when you have something going on in your life and you need someone to defend you, then you call on Whitney. Otherwise, when everything is okay, you don't need Whitney. You just keep her on the outskirts. So I hope Whitney doesn't buy into that. Shaq on his part said, this was interesting. He tried to be honest. He tried to make sure that he did the right thing. He's been in 4 couples. And so he was then asked also about Whitney. And I think if they are reflective people, they'll know that Whitney is the reason why they're going home. Because he said, Whitney is very outspoken, and sadly, I'm outspoken as well. And when you're both outspoken, you clash. But Whitney is my sister. I love her. And, she'll always be, a sister to me. And so I think they were the right people to be dumped. I think Shaq, his person, wasn't in the villa. I think had storylines not turned, or had production not decided to go a different way, and had they brought in Tanya, then maybe things would have been more interesting. But I think he was at the bottom of the barrel. There were people that rose to be superstars in there, or that rose to be sort of something that the production felt were a better story to tell. And I think this is why, sadly, I feel it was best for him to go home, because they were never going to bring in a person for him. Scott and Leanne had a conversation where Scott was saying to Leanne, I'm happy you're still here because I would have been really sad had you gone home because, we have a good thing going. And I think they have a great connection. I think they are the couple that production was not expecting to come out of the show. And so the idea that they are a couple, they're sort of separating themselves from other people. I think this is why Leanne was put in the bottom and to try and sort of shake them up. And sadly, I don't think this is going to shake them up. Everybody else was in the kitchen. And then you had this back and forth with Scott and, Belle. I didn't like it because you were saying, I'm happy Leanne is still here because if she had gone out, it would have been very miserable. And then he was asked, so were you not going to leave with her? And it's like, why was he supposed to leave with her? If Millie gets a pass for dumping someone she was in a couple with and nobody had any backlash for her, why is Scott expected to leave with Leanne? Oh, I thought you were the strongest couple, so I expected you to leave. It's none of your business, Belle. Go and focus on you and Sean and leave him alone. Whitney and Scott having a conversation, they are the closest of friends. They have each other's back and they will ride hard for one another. For Whitney to say she would have expected Connor to go home instead of Shaq didn't make sense to me. I don't understand why she said it. And for Connor to walk past as they were saying this, because you had Scott ask her, what do you mean? Because she's in a couple with Connor. If Connor goes home, she has no other choice. Jack is not it for her. She can't go back to Jack given how he treated her. So I don't understand. I hate how you had Belle sort of telling the girls that Scott said, he would have stayed had Helena gone. And it's like, what business of yours is it? What business of yours is it? Everyone in the villa was rattled by the fact that Shaq and Jess were dumped. I think Jess didn't shake anyone, but Shaq did shake a lot of people because he was like a main character, so they couldn't understand why he was sent home. But then seeing the Whitney situation, you don't need a soothsayer to tell you that he was going to be dumped or he was going to be vulnerable because people were not happy with the way he spoke with Whitney as compared to the other girls. Anyway, all the islanders get into bed, and then Whitney had this conversation with Connor that I didn't understand. I think maybe she needed to read the room because she and Scott have this thing whereby they can't read the room. If they have an opinion, they have to give it. And I think this is why they get along very well because she spoke to Connor about the fact that, I expected you to go home. I didn't think Shaq was the one who was going to go home. And Connor on his part was taken aback that, but I'm in a couple with you. Why would you expect me to go home? Why would you not sort of, be happy that I'm still here? And so it makes you understand that Whitney is only using Connor because it's convenient. For Scott and Leanne, they were having a conversation as well. She was worried that she had been vulnerable, and so she was really shaken by that. And I understand she's shaken by it, but for her to expect Scott to sort of understand that, I don't get it. I think he was worried, which he is justifiable in doing, which is the right thing. But at the end of the day, for her to expect him to understand fully how she felt doesn't make sense. He can empathize, but you will never fully understand. In the morning, you had, the guys go for a mini debrief. You had Curtis saying, he stepped back from Millie, and so he feels some type of way about that whole situation. He really tried his best. I think he catches feelings too quickly, and sadly, in this situation, Millie had to push him back because she realized that he was catching feelings and didn't want to sort of saddle herself with someone she wasn't feeling like that. On his part, Scott said, he he expected, Leanne to be happy that she was still in the villa. They still got to explore their connection, but she didn't seem to see things that way. Leanne is telling the girls that Scott didn't understand how she felt because she was vulnerable, so it was something that really shook her, and she doesn't understand why she was vulnerable. I love that Whitney was there and said to her, "You need to speak to Scott, and the two of you need to understand one another because you telling." Everybody else, he might not understand it, but if you go and sit down with him and have a conversation with him, he will fully understand what you mean. For Belle to suddenly, out of the blue, carry this on her back, I think she thinks she's fighting for Sean, not realizing that Sean, had he been the one who had gone to Villa USA, he would have been wilding out. He would have been being a nuisance there because he's only settled with her just for the sake of it. So for her to pull Sammy aside and have a conversation and say, Scott said he would have stayed if Leanne went home. He wasn't worried about the fact that Shaq and Jess went home. And it's like, he saved Jess. What more can he do? What more can he do? Did you want him to forfeit his place for Jess so that Jess could stay in the villa when she didn't have a romantic connection? And what did you expect him to do about Shaq? He wasn't in a couple with Shaq. You were in a couple with Shaq, but in bed you were making out with Sean. Why didn't you cry over Shaq going home? Why? I didn't get it, and I didn't like it that she tried to sort of present this situation whereby I feel like she wanted somebody else to sort of run and tell Leanne she didn't want to be the bad guy, but she wanted to watch Scott and Leanne erupt. So I'm happy that, that didn't seem to happen and Leanne didn't sort of bite when eventually she found out. So we get to see the American Islanders. For me, none of them stands out. I'm going to be honest, for real. None of them stands out of the six of them. So I assume this is their casa. We meet Yemen. He's 31. He's from California. He was in season one, and he's been single for 4 years. We Shay. She's 27. She's from Miami. She's from season two, and she's been single for 2 years. Zach is from season seven. I saw him. It was him and Zach with a K. I wish they had brought Zach with a K. He's got more of that je ne sais quoi, so he would stand up. Zach is 26. He's from Arizona. He's from season seven, obviously. Imani, I don't understand why she's back. I really don't. I thought she was training to be a vet or something, or a physiotherapist, so I'm surprised that she's still on the circuit doing Love Island. Maybe she needs money for uni fees or something. She's 24. She's from LA. She's from season five, and she's been single for 3 years. I thought she would have settled with that little guy from Love Island Games, the one in what was it, season one, the one who really liked her. So I'm surprised that she's still single. Carrington is 28. He's from Utah. He was from season two with Shay, and he's been single for 3 years. I understand he wasn't perfect match with Scott, so I can't wait. I hope he's brought back to the villa so that they can link up with Scott. He was excited when he saw Scott, but we didn't get to see them greet one another. So I'm questioning, production. And then Kira's 28. She's from Havana, Hawaii, and she is from season three, and she's been single for 6 months. And it's like, girl, you've been single for 6 months. You and Millie are from the same WhatsApp group. Maybe you need to sit down and sort of take a moment and sort of process the end of your relationship before anything else. Maya Jama came through. She met the Islanders, had a conversation, and then she went to the main villa. So Maya Jama came through to Villa USA, and from there she went back to the main villa and selected a couple of islanders who had been requested to come to Villa USA. And so she called out Helena. It makes sense. She's single. Millie makes sense. She's single. Whitney, yeah, she's on the borderline single. She's in a situationship. Belle needed to go because she's in a relationship with Sean. Sean is not in a relationship with her. Kieran, I think they did it for the theatrics. Scott, they did it for the theatrics. Jack I think it was just a convenient. Someone must really like his dad. This is why they keep giving him opportunities. And then Tommy's not in a relationship. Poor Lucinda, I feel like they wanted theatrics and drama in the sort of Villa USA, and so they didn't want the main villa to sort of take away from that, and this is why they brought them over. When they went over, there was greetings there. Obviously, Scott knows a couple of people. He's been on games. He's been on Love Island, I think, and then he's also been on Perfect Match. Carrington was excited to see him. He really was excited to see him. So that was really sweet and nice to see. The people in the main villa were shaken because they couldn't understand what was going on, and it was the boring people that were left. So there's nothing, you can't expect them to do anything. Sean only does performance stuff when he has someone as a sidekick or when he has someone to encourage him. You had Kieran sit down for a conversation with Shay that was like watching paint dry. You said you want someone who's respectful. She wants someone with personality and heart. Do I think Kieran is going to bite? No. I think Kieran knows he's just missed by a small whisker, the wrath of Sammy. So he doesn't want to do anything that's going to sort of shake that. Imani sat down with Jack for a chat. She gives me Lucinda vibes in the sense that she knows what she's doing. She's been on a couple of these shows, so she's going to choose the person who's in her best interest, because her sitting down with Jack doesn't make sense. She already knows that Scott is taken. She already knows that Kieran is taken. The only other option would have been Tommy, and I think she thought Tommy didn't like people that looked like her, so she ran for Jack because Jack has already been in a couple with Whitney, so it makes sense to her. Scott sat down for a conversation with Kira. Kira called him out. She said, "You're very outspoken. At times you need to reserve your opinions." And it's like, you need a lot of theatrics on a show like Love Island. Otherwise, it will end up like what's happening in the main villa. So somebody needs to be there. Somebody needs to be the drama. And if Scott is going to be the drama, then I'm here for it. Back in the main villa, you have poor Well, you have Curtis saying that he's cooled things off with Millie, so he hopes she doesn't meet someone there so that they can continue to work on their connection. You have, Connor reveal what Whitney said and how he feels about it. And it's like Whitney is just like Scott. At times they just run their mouth. They mean no harm, they just run their mouth and they need someone to sort of correct them. So, it's really sad that she said it, but I don't think she meant any harm. Whitney, on her part, had a conversation with Yeoman. They were sort of talking about star signs, and Whitney sort of revealed that she was born on the 2nd of November, I think she said, and he said, you've got a bit of crazy in you, and I like it. And there was a lot of banter there, but do I see them as a long-term connection? No, because this man, he was on season 1 and he's still single. That should say something to Whitney. Stay away. He's not serious about a connection. He's just there to be on the show. The islanders got ready for the night and then they all went out. You had Millie sit down for a chat with Zach. And this is why the USA participants were brought through, because the production must have realized that Millie was never going to fall for any of the guys from the UK, and this is why they decided to import those guys. Do I see him staying with Millie? Yes, I do. I see them staying in her hopes to win the show, but after the show, that will fizzle out. I don't see it lasting any longer. But they seem to have more chemistry, more banter, so I love that for them. The little chat that Kira had with Tommy was smitten. Tommy is easy. He's very easily smitten. He's like a little boy in a candy store. As soon as you give him a sweet, he's happy, he's content, he sits in the corner, and that's it. This is where the drama starts for me, in the sense that people are really trying to put a wedge between Leanne and Scott. They've tried to bring in bombshells. None of them have bitten. And so now they're trying to use situations to sort of turn them against one another. For you to have, Sammy say to Leanne, oh, there's something that Belle wanted to tell you. Now I have to tell you. Anyway, Scott, he said, had you gone home, he would have stayed. And the way she said it, Leanne was offended by the presentation, not by the words, because she said, yeah, I wouldn't have expected him to stay, to live with me, but at the end of the day, I don't like the manner in which he said it. And it's like, it's not that deep. It really is not that deep, and I don't get why we're making such a big deal about something that isn't that deep. And so I was side-eyeing Sammy, because I'm thinking, why are you telling her this? And I love that she wasn't as outraged as they expected her to be, whether they expected her to sit in a corner and cry, whether they expected her to lash out, she didn't, or whether they expected her to curse him out, she didn't. She just said, well, it's something we need to address, and that was it. And I loved it. I was really here for it, and I thought, this is amazing, because everything they're trying to do is turning against them. Jack having a conversation with Shay, for me, I don't know why they're entertaining him. Jack should have gone home. If anyone should have gone home, it should have been Jack. Shaq could have stayed for a bit. Jack should have gone home. He brings nothing outside of the fact that he's dad. They spoke about travel, and then he spoke about the fact that, oh yes, I used to travel with my dad because of his job. And it's like, buddy, nobody wants to know about your dad's job. We really are not that keen or that interested, so it doesn't make sense. Yemen having a conversation with Helena, that was producer driven, because it was very dry. Yes, they spoke about travel, they spoke about spicy food, about Mexico, and it was just basic conversation that was just cut and dry. There was nothing there, and someone is really trying to save Helena for reasons best known to them. And then Carrington sitting down with Belle. Belle needs to twist from little, what's his name? Sean. Sean doesn't bring anything to her. So the idea that she sat there and had a conversation with Carrington, there was more spark, there was more chemistry there than there was anytime she's been around Sean. So I don't get why we continue to sort of be saddled with this storyline about her and Sean. The Islanders then decided to play beer pong. It was the cutest game ever, and sadly the people in the villa could hear the loud noise, so they kept sort of checking in. So first up, Imani, the ball was dropped in her cup. So I'll read out the names of what was said and the person who performed the challenge. Imani was Snog the Islander, whose couple won't last once they leave the villa. And she kissed Tommy, and because Tommy said it's because I'm in a couple with Helena. That's not it. She means you and Lucinda. It won't last. Helena licked the Islander from head to toe. You think is the complete package. She licked Carrington. He was happy about that. Zach snogged the Islander. You felt the most sexual chemistry. He snogged Millie. That went on for ages. She was excited. She was really giddy. And she was trying to prove a point, in my opinion. Kieran snogged the Islander you are most excited to spend more time with. He kissed Shay. And then Belle was snog the Islander of your choice. and rates the kiss. Out of 10, she kissed Carrington and gave him a 9. He said, yeah, he expected that. Shay was not the islander you think is in a one-sided relationship, and she went and she kissed Scott. I love that, you had Whitney say we are not going to charge that, which means that they're going to address it because she wants to know why, this girl is saying this. And I think this was producer driven because they wanted to shake Scott to make him feel like, Leanne is not feeling him the way he is. As I've said before, they are not the couple that production wanted to be the standout couple. And because of that, this is why they are now trying to break them up. And I hope they continue to stand firm. And the viewers that support them, I hope they continue to stand firm with them, knowing that this is just a setup for Leanne and Scott to try and let them fail. Everyone else in the villa was sad. They were really sad because they could hear the noise, but there was nothing they could do. They then went to get ready for the night, and you had, this man crying. I personally don't understand what issues Curtis is dealing with. Whatever it is, somebody needs to provide him help because he's broken down too many times. Anyway, I can't wait to see what happens next. Thanks, guys, for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Click on the link in my video to watch my review from episode 12. Bye, everyone.